All right, Big Ten Conference, man.
This one was interesting.
Okay. Yeah, it was. Let me just go ahead and reveal it, man. I have Nebraska as the runner-up. I've tried to make sense of this. And
was this the speculation you were talking about earlier?
Yeah.
In the show? Okay.
Here's the thing. Dylan Raiola through 3 quarters, Nebraska as a whole through 3 quarters against Ohio State is one of. I was trying to separate who can compete with the other teams if they just had a little bit more weaponage on their team. Okay, it's not a word, but
no, I know. Trust me, I of all people cannot complain about made up words.
I'm just trying to think overall, like what could have sent them over the edge to help them win against Ohio State, and of course it was just the weapons around them. You're gonna get Naziah Hunter, who was one of the fastest guys on Cal last year. Obviously, probably one of the top 5 wide receiver prospects that were in the transfer portal was Dane Key from Kentucky. I talked to a Kentucky fan the other day. He's still upset about that.
I would be too.
Then they get I don't know how they did this, some voodoo magic, but they get Elijah Pritchett coming over from Alabama to fill in that left tackle spot, which they severely needed because Dylan was getting crushed on that side last year. And so you get a little security blanket coming up from Alabama there. I think Emmett Johnson's going to have a really, really good year at running back. Look, I understand 117 carries, 598 yards, 1 touchdown, 5.1 yards a carry, guys. Which was he improved from last year. But the biggest X factor here is, of course, who's throwing on the ball. You can make fun of Dylan Raiola all you want to.
I'm about to say, believe me, they did make fun of Gabriel. We got receipts.
Well, they make fun of both of these guys, but for different reasons.
Receipts.
But the thing is he's a good quarterback. If you couldn't see it last year, I mean, obviously DJ Lagway is on a different level than a Dylan Raiola. But what you could say about what Matt Rule has done is year 3. I'm talking about year 3 now. Year 3 Matt Rule at Rutgers. Or I'm sorry, at Temple. Year 3 Matt Rule at Baylor. Had these guys playing at their highest level. He's got 2 recruiting classes underneath his belt. And I know I said last year, I definitely got the PTO to make it out to Nebraska this year for a night game. And especially if they are looking good, I'm going to take my shirt off on them. I'm going to eat some corn. Yeah, man, it's going to be a good time. Also, you know, Matt Rule is going to bring in some good transfers. Look, one of the most underrated transfers that's coming over, and I DM'd him, and I almost got him on the show.
Yeah,
Marquez Watson Trent. He follows us on Twitter from Georgia Southern. He's an animal at linebacker. 52 tackles, one and a half sacks.
Every Georgia Tech linebacker we watched was
Georgia State.
Oh, you said Georgia Tech. Okay,
I'm sorry, Georgia Southern, not Georgia State. Georgia Southern. There's too many. There's too many Georgia States. Georgia Southern, Georgia Tech. Pick one.
Rambling.
I forgot what I was watching him. I was watching film on somebody, and he was the one that stuck out on film. And I followed him, and he followed me back. Then I was in his DMs. I was like, "Hey, man, I got to get you on here." But yeah, I think he's gonna be awesome. I can't wait to see him play. And again, they went around the league and just was picking up depth everywhere on their depth chart. Rocco Spindler, they get him from Notre Dame, and you know how they do with offensive linemen, so he's going to come in and be a right guard for them as well. The only thing that I'm concerned about is Cortez Mills coming in as wide receiver, and also Isaiah Mosey. This is their first year. As far as their depth chart is concerned, they might get their first year reps and be starters. I don't know if they're going to get redshirted, but they're pretty high profile guys, that committed to their team. Now, the interesting one that I think could be an X factor for their team. 𝗕𝘂𝘀𝗶𝗲𝗀, their wide receiver. 55 receptions, 447 yards. He had 0 touchdowns last year. What do you think this dude's going to be headhunting on as far as a slot receiver? He's going to try to get in the end zone as much as possible. The quarterbacks that had the most success are the ones that are able to obviously catch the ball over the middle of the field. We do have an interesting one. Redshirt senior 𝗕𝘂𝘀𝗶𝗶𝗀𝗀. He's transferring from tight end to quarterback. Oh, I'm sorry, from quarterback to tight end.
I was about to say, hold on.
Filling in.
What do you mean by this?
Yeah, filling in for my boy Tommy. What was his name? Tommy. What's his name?
𝗕𝘂𝘀𝗀𝗀𝗃?
No, the tight end.
Tremble?
Tommy 𝗕𝘂𝘀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗃, bro.
Oh.
Tommy
Dude, I
𝗕𝘂𝘀𝘀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀.
was like, there's too many Tommies right now.
Yeah, Tommy 𝗕𝘂𝘂𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗃, who is now on the New York Giants. I'm running a Road to Glory, and I always celebrate when he gets a catch. Yeah, Tommy 𝗕𝘂𝘂𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀, he was at the Senior Bowl as well.
Tommy Tremble's at. Yes, he is. He was. I was.
Tommy Tremble was on the Carolina Panthers, right?
Yeah, he's on the Carolina. That's why I was like, you were saying. I was like, no, he's in the NFL. Hold on. So I was like,
yeah. So I think
who's he? Whose man's is this?
Yeah, man. I just think overall for Nebraska, though, I think they have the team to compete this year. If you saw anything out of them from last year, they had a lot of close games, especially that one against Ohio State before they started pulling away.
Yeah.
And if you're able to keep that close
with Ohio State,
like
3 quarters, basically.
Yeah, you didn't lose a lot of games. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, I'm sorry, you didn't lose a lot of players either. And look at their schedule. They play Cincy, Akron, HCU. They're about to beat them. Michigan is vulnerable. We don't know what Bryce Underwood is going to be.
Yeah, we don't know. I was about to say, that's Michigan's a really big question mark with Bryce Underwood.
Michigan State, Adam Cheelis and Jonathan Smith, we don't know if he's going to be able to coach them back to prominence. So I'll give them a win there. So they only have one loss, possibly Michigan. Maryland, their coach is on the hot seat. Minnesota's not going to be good. Northwestern, USC maybe is a toss-up. I'll give them a loss there. They might lose against Penn State. I think this is the most vulnerable that Iowa's been in a long time. So I'll give them a win there. So we're talking about a Nebraska team that could go possibly 10-2 this year. Maybe 9-3. We've seen some 9-3 teams making it to the college football playoff.
We have. And even in the championships, so...
Yeah.
Or conference game, sorry.
Yep. So, I mean, this is good enough for them to get in the conference game if there are, I think their schedule is favorable. Yeah, I think there's a lot of vulnerable teams this year.
Especially with, like you were talking about, spoiler alert, I don't think anybody who put Michigan on here. You know, Bryce Underwood is definitely a question mark. And just kind of that, you know, I don't want to say that entire team in general is a question mark, but it's like, where...
It is, though. I mean, they get Justice Haynes.
Gauge Michigan, you know?
Yeah, they get Justice Haynes, but I don't even think he's going to be the starter out there.
Yeah. So, yeah. I don't know. I feel like Michigan's still going to be a down year off of, you know, that national championship. I think next year maybe is when you start seeing Michigan being back into a top team in the Big Ten, but...
We shall see. Who's the team that you picked?
See. The team that I picked is Penn State. Shout out to you, Colin. Don't hate me too much now. You know, I will go ahead and say the biggest reason why Penn State is runner-up is just, can James Franklin get it done? That is my whole thing. Is James Franklin going to be able to get it done? Because we've looked at it, you know, we've talked about Drew Lar, Katron Allen, Nicholas Singleton so many times. You're returning 5 starters on that offensive line. You've always got a high-power defense. Jim Knowles is now here. So, you know, Cole Nicky, he's on his 2nd year of the offense. Is he going to throw out, how was it that Colin, shout out to you, by the way, describe it, the Dairy Queen Blizzard, you know, is he going to throw those plays out now?
Yeah,
just keep... Yeah. You know, just give me my vanilla. That's all I need. I don't need no sprinkles, gummy worms on that, flipping it upside down. Look, it doesn't drop. You know, Let's improvise the passing attack. We've gotten a lot of transfers. Kyron Hudson being, kind of the biggest one there.
Even though statistically he wasn't the best one as far as transfer, but we know what Kyron Hudson can be.
I was about to say, we know what Kyron. You've got Devontae Ross, Kyron Hudson, Trevor Penna.
Yeah.
So you've addressed that you are still missing a true deep threat since Jahan Dotson was on the team as your wide receiver. So you're addressing that wide receiver as a need. Drew Lock, we've stated many times, could be the number one quarterback in this draft. You're returning Nicholas Singleton, Kaytron Allen. We've been talking about these guys for what feels like 5 years, and they're always like the top returning running back duo. You're already bolstering up a great defense, adding Jim Knowles. Again, it's just, can James Franklin get it done? Can he and Kozlowski stop with the fluff and just get it done and stick with the basics to beat teams like Oregon, Ohio State, Nebraska, kind of looking at it, three, key games that are going to be early October. You got UCLA and Oregon. It's going to be UCLA, and then you go to, I believe, Oregon afterwards. Obviously, if you beat Oregon in the regular season, that's going to carry through momentum. November 1st, you've got Ohio State. You've got that bye week beforehand, obviously. And then obviously, hopefully as the runner-up, as I have them predicted, you've got the Big Ten title game. We've seen them, even with the losses that they had and losing the Big Ten game last year, they still made it to the playoffs. They still made a great run at it. I think Jim Knowles will help, bolster what you needed for those wins, for that deep playoff run. Again, it just all comes down to, can we get rid of the fluff? Were the additions at wide receiver enough? And can James Franklin get it done?
Yeah.
And are you going to be able to win those big games against Oregon and Ohio State?
Right.
Even if you win one of those games in the regular season, I feel like that's a major boost for you.
Yeah. The thing with Penn State, and I'm going to get into it, they have a lot to not overcome. What's the right word? They have a lot of expectations to live up to. They've got a lot of demons
to vanquish right now.
Yeah. And then we'll get into it. Don also chooses Penn State. 𝗂𝘂𝘀𝗶𝘲, I knew he was going to do this. I knew it.
I saw Illinois when I was writing this, or when I was looking at it and I saw Illinois, I was like,
did he have Illinois last year?
I don't remember if he did.
Well, let me see. I'm about to check.
Are you still in chat? Did you have Illinois last year?
I think he had Illinois last year.
Damn.
Let's see.
𝗂𝘂𝘀𝘀𝗀. I mean, not damn, but like,
𝗂𝘂𝘀𝘀𝘀 had.
I thought that Discord message was him. I was like, I heard a Discord message. Hold on, he's listening.
All right, so 𝗂𝘂𝘀𝘀𝘀 had USC and Ohio State winning.
That's what it was. Yeah,
bro, I had Iowa and Oregon. You had Ohio State and Oregon. Hayden had Oregon, Ohio State.
I was half right.
Don had Oregon, Ohio State.
Well, Ohio State got the last laugh, so.
Well, me and you were right with the Oregon pick, so it doesn't matter.
Say, you and I were right about that, but Ohio State definitely got the last laugh on that guy. So
Iowa got cooked. So I guess he's a believer of Brett Bielema and Luke Altmaier out there with the Fighting Illini.
Yeah, Fighting Illinois.
Jason has Ohio State as their runner-up.
I think, is that the only Ohio State mention we had? I don't think anybody had them as winners. I don't remember.
And the ECG runner-up is going to be Ohio State.